Okay. Where am I? Just waiting for people to turn up. Okay. Hello. Just sitting here waiting for everyone to turn up. Where are you from? And also, I'd love to know where you're from and if you're new here or not. And so are you new here and where are you from? I'm on YouTube and Facebook. So where are you from? Amy Brown, you've been here before. I'm pretty sure I know that name. Anyway, so where are you from and are you new? I'd love to know if this is your very first live. I've been on here pretty much every day for a couple of years now, but I still get, new people turning up. Okay. So where are you from? I'm here in Vancouver, by the way, Canada. Okay, so where are you from? New Mexico. Hello, New Mexico, UK. Excellent. UK. Been to the UK. I've never been to New Mexico. Okay, Omaha, Nebraska. Is that so familiar? Oh, the insurance company. Wasn't there a lot of commercials for Omaha Insurance or something? It's a name I've heard a lot of. Texas, Surrey, BC, another BCite. Kansas, Alaska. Excellent. You've been watching me for over a month. I'm Brittany on YouTube. Oh, welcome back. Okay, let's get going. Oh, I've got something I have to say. But anyway, first of all, I'll introduce myself. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you'll see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses. I have 2 of them, one for toddlers, one for 3 to 12-year-olds, or you can look into coaching. Okay, so I talked about this before, but I don't think I made it very clear. So here's the question. Do I hug a toddler during or after a tantrum? Like right afterwards, you know how they get the hiccup cries, hug. Yeah, you don't hug them after that because what they're asking for is, can you please condone what I just did? Can you please validate that whole scene that I just had? You don't snub them, but if they've just finished having a tantrum and now they want to hug, I would go, you're all right. Do you want to go read a book? So yeah, you hug them any other time, but not during or after or right after a tantrum, because you're actually rewarding it. You're making it look like you feel bad for them. I love you. It's okay. So if they think they go into a tantrum and they're going to be rewarded with a hug afterwards, they're more likely to have a tantrum. Do you see what I mean? Yeah, you don't want to attach that something really positive to a tantrum. You just go, you're okay. Do you want to go to the park or something? Like you just divert. You change the subject. Okay, so that was that. That's all I had on my list of things I wanted to say today. So I'm just waiting for your, oh, this is kind of funny. I had to return some running shoes. I was just bragging yesterday about how wonderful my running shoes are. I won't say what brand they were. And yesterday my toe just exploded out of it. So just struck me as funny. So I was running around today looking for new running shoes because I work out every day, so I need workout shoes. So anyway, just struck me as funny. Every single time I brag, it's just become a joke with me. Every time I brag about anything, it just explodes in my face. It's hilarious. Like I love this umbrella I had, and I just finished talking about it. It's the best umbrella I ever had. And then a wind caught it. Not only did it open up and turn inside out, the whole top of it flew off right in the middle of traffic. Isn't that weird? It happens to me all the time. Okay. But advice on a mouthy preteen. So a preteen or a tween is 9 to 12 years old. So mouthy, you mean cheeky. Yeah, attitude is just a direct reflection of your parenting. That's all it is. Remember, we're not fixing kids here. We're fixing and teaching parents. You lead, they will follow. They're not rude to a leader. They just aren't. I teach leadership. You might want to check out my boot camp course for 3 to 12-year-olds. Or you can look into just my free behavior board. That's free. That's why I call it my free behavior board. So Sorry, I was just yabbering on. Okay, here we go. Brittany, or I can't read your name, sorry. I feel like this is me bragging. It's just we all have these personality quirks. That's one of mine. I have a lot of them, but that's one of them. So you said, I feel like that happens to me. So in other words, you brag and then it blows up in your face. So I just try not to brag. Oh, I just go for it. I'm quite comfortable with this personality flaw. Doesn't bother me. It's become a joke. How do I manage the constant mom look, mom look? Well, I don't know how old they are. I need an age there because it depends on the age and their comprehension of how you deal with it, right? And don't just say an age now because I'll get so many questions and I won't know which question it went with. So you have to put the whole question plus the age. Okay, I'm going to read out just a few things I like to throw in every so often because they're general advice. Someone asked me, they said, don't you get tired of saying the same things every day and alive? I don't hear myself anymore. Sometimes I'm talking and I'm thinking about something else and I'm thinking, am I saying the right thing? So I literally can't hear it. It's the weirdest thing. Okay, these are my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1, childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3, when you want to connect with a toddler, this is under the age of 3, you don't do it at the nail salon. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. You enter their world. Number 4 is similar. When you want to discipline a toddler, you do so in their world. They're not about words. All these mini therapy sessions discussing all their big feelings and big emotions is garbage. They need consistent corrective actions, not words. They learn through repetition and watching and actions. It's not words. Number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. They're not figure outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They're just forming. I always call toddlers crazy, but it's just that they haven't developed sanity yet. They're just not there yet. They're cute as a button, but they're all feet, no brains. Okay. Okay, how do you manage fake crying with a 20-month-old? Do real ignoring. Yeah, just ignore it. Yeah. And I wouldn't necessarily leave the room, but I just talk as if they're not even doing it. Oh, gee, you want to go to the park or something? Or, no, I'm going to go cook dinner now. Like, just talk as if they're not crying, right? It says to me it must work, right? Must bother you. You must try and talk them out of it. Any attention is feeding that, so. Something that comes up all the time in coaching is parents want to avoid the scenes. What do I do? But if I do that, he's going to get upset. I'm like, bravo, that's what you want. Behind every fit, scene, meltdown, and tantrum is a lesson. That is them processing, hey, wait a minute. I'm not going to get all my own way. I'm not in charge. It's not my way or the highway. You see, it's important to go through that. Everyone wants the rainbow, but I say, are you ready for the storm? Because that comes before the rainbow. Yeah, you got to be willing to go through that. It's like that 8-year-old kid that I worked with. He didn't know me. I didn't know him. And I just sat down with him to work with him. And because I used to work with behaviorally challenged kids. And it's a nice way of putting it. Anyway, he was a handful. And he looked at me and he says, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. And I said to him, bring it on. And he never did. Okay. So yeah, I had no fear of that. 0. And he picked up on that. That's why he never had a fit. I was kind of hoping he would, because I know how to exercise my leadership, right? And that's also their fit, scenes, meltdowns, and tantrums are your opportunities to exercise your leadership. Like, that doesn't bother me one little bit. I'm just filing my nails, waiting for it to be over. That's not going to work with me. How do you handle a 3-year-old that favors mommy over daddy and doesn't allow me to talk to her without throwing a temper tantrum saying no, mommy? Yeah. Wow. That's a 3-year-old. Wow. Okay. That means it must work. It must bother you. I would just keep talking and just kind of push them aside and keep talking. There's no way. And then the tantrum, that's okay. Just walk away and keep talking to each other. Just ignore it. Yeah. They've been taught to do that. By the age of 3, if they're acting like that, it's a learned behavior. It means it must work. It has to. There's no way a 3-year-old would be acting like that if it hadn't worked in the past. So just make sure it doesn't work. A lot of parents reward all this bad behavior, not realizing it. You're actually encouraging it. You're feeding it. You're fertilizing it, right? And don't discuss it or anything. All these discussions, This one, I get asked this from time to time, but I never have a good answer, and I'll tell you why. How do you help a parent manage their emotions when trying to manage a child's bad behavior? Well, that's sort of up to you. Like, I can't help you how to manage your emotions. You're an adult. That's your job to do. It's like when I used to teach fitness, people would say, well, how do I get myself to the gym? How are you going to support me getting myself to the gym? What am I supposed to do? Drive to your house, drag you out of bed, get you dressed, and get you smashed into your leggings and bring you to the gym with me? Like, I didn't understand that. That's your job to follow through with this stuff and just deal with your own emotions, figure it out. The thing is, it's short-term pain for long-term gain. It will get easier once you start getting respect, but that is your responsibility, your job to manage your emotions. There's nothing I can do to help you with that. That's up to you. That's like saying if you went to Weight Watchers and then you said, how are you going to support me? How are you going to help me not eat? That's your job. That's your responsibility. It's like that. Do your strategies work with ADHD diagnosis? That's where I learned all this stuff. Yeah, I learned all that with kids with ADHD. My kids didn't have that, but all the kids I worked with, I used to call them alphabet kids. They all had acronyms after their name. ADHD, WXYZ. Oh, the 5-year-old saying, Mom, look, Mom, look. In other words, I want your attention. I would say, here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play with you for 10 minutes. And then after that, I'm going to go do what I need to do. So get your phone or a timer and say, look, we're going to play for 10 minutes. And then that's it. They keep saying, Mom, look, I would say, no, that's enough. If it goes to a next level, I don't know how far they're going to go with that, because a 5-year-old doesn't usually do that unless, of course, they've been trained to do so. Okay. So yeah, but just have a time where you are looking and then say, okay, we're done now. I've got to go get stuff done. Like I used to say to my kids, if I would just say, oh, I don't want any, I need just no kid time, just scram. They would happily scram because I spent so much time playing with them. So that when I did say scram, I just want some mom time, then they wouldn't even think anything of it. They'd go, oh, okay. And they'd go off and scram. So my mom used to say that to me too. So, okay. Okay, this one's kind of long, but it's kind of interesting. If you have a 10-year-old who likes to gaslight you, saying you didn't say things you did, or remember me saying things I did not, how do you respond without getting into a pissing match? Don't mind over small stuff, but I can see you're trying to do this 15, 16. It must work. I would put on the behavior board, no lying, and then gaslighting is lying. So I would say, yeah, that's a lie. So there's a consequence. And remember, there's no emotions when you're disciplining. It's like a business transaction. Just call it like it is. No lying. When you lie, there's a consequence. That was a lie. Here's a consequence. It's that simple. It's not simple to do, but it's a simple equation on what you do. I know it's hard to do. I get that. And you might want to look at the boot camp course because you want to get respect. Everything's easier when you've got respect. The boot camp course teaches you how to get respect, the 3 to 12-year-old one. The toddler one, yeah, you could start to learn how to get respect in there, but they're not catching on to it quite yet. But by the age of 3, it's a fork in the road. If you've been a leader and dealing with stuff effectively, which is what my toddler boot camp course is all about, then they do get easier at 3. If not, if they've been in charge and you've just been reacting instead of acting, in other words, letting them lead, then it goes the other way. 3 is when they stop and they realize, hey, wait a minute, I'm in charge. Or wait a minute, you're in charge. So that's what the toddler boot camp's all about. You're not going to see great results initially. There's sort of every little thing's in there, but you're not going to get that respect quite yet. It's a slow burn with toddlers because they're just brand new. But at 3, it kicks in and they go, ooh, you knew what you were doing for the last 3 years. You were pretty good at it. So I think I'll just relax and be easy. It's not, of course, not that straightforward, but kind of like that. Okay. Sorry, I'm just skipping ahead here to make sure you're still here. I'm on YouTube at the same time. YouTube is where I save all of my lives. YouTube is my smallest platform. So if you want to see the whole live, usually I do an hour to an hour and a half. But on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I do a full hour and a half because they're my scheduled lives. And YouTube is where you can see the whole thing all the way through. Also, I only have like 13,000 followers on YouTube, whereas I've got a total of 1.4 million, and they're all on here on social media. So I'm going to see all the questions on YouTube. So I'm just telling you, it's a good place to go if you just want to be able to type in. Usually I can get to most questions on YouTube, but nowhere else I can't do that. It gets too busy. You have to put the age when you ask a question. Okay, son, 6 years old, keeps asking the why questioning, but why and why after having fun, continuing, do I ignore, give a consequence? Okay, there's so many different ways of doing this one. So, okay, we're all done playing, but why? But why? Because I said so. But why? But why? I would go, I'll tell you what, you keep after me like this, there'll be a consequence. Do you understand? It's like that. He's 6, he can get that. And then just impose a consequence. I'll tell you what, you were being a real pest with that. But why? But why? So no screens tonight or something like that. Check out the behavior board. It's completely free, or you can look at the boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old. The behavior boards are really good. It's kind of like the training wheels with all this leadership. It's completely free. It starts at the age of 3. And then if you want to go further, look at the boot camp course for 3 to 12. Or if you haven't under the age of 3, then that's my toddler boot camp course. I do coaching also. But there's a wait list for that. And yeah, honestly, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be coaching. I don't need to do it. And I just love doing it. So I'll probably always do it, but I might just end up doing crisis work with coaching. We'll see. I don't know. It's just my favorite thing in my business, but it takes up a lot of time. So, okay. I'm just going to look at, I just sometimes like to throw in just other stuff because everyone asks me about discipline. Discipline is a tiny part of what I'm all about. I'm more about connecting with your kids, playing with them, having fun with them, laughing with them, the connecting, the bond, the relationship. That is your power as a parent, is your relationship with your child, not your ability to discipline. Besides, discipline doesn't really work unless you're connected to your kids anyway. It can sort of be a way of connecting when they're younger, not when they're teenagers though. Nope, not at all. It changes when the teenagers are my favorite age. Oops, why did I write that in there? So I'm just looking at some of my notes here, stuff I like to talk about on lives. I'm going to talk about my 4 stages of parenting. There's 4 very distinct stages of parenting. So it's 0 to 15 months is the baby stage. Just going into toddler years. That's the one where you just meet their needs and meet their wants, basically. And you redirect them when they're not. You just say no and then redirect, okay? When they're 16 to 35 months, that's the toddler stage. That's my boot camp course for toddlers at 16 to 35 months. And that is when you're starting to teach them right from wrong. And there's some consequences, but they have to be right in the moment and they have to be actions. And you have to be consistent. I strongly suggest, let's say they do 5 things that annoy the heck out of you. Pick 1 per week and just master that one, because you're going to have to be really consistent with this. So just pick 1 behavior that you want to correct per week, and you have to be 100% consistent. I don't know why. The kids, if you do everything perfect for 49 times out of 50, they'll remember the 1 time you did it wrong. They just do. I don't know why. They got amazing memories when you make a mistake. It's phenomenal. Oh, the other I forgot where I was. The other stages, child, 3 to 12 years old. That's when you're at the height of your leadership skills. They want to please you. They understand your leadership. They want to please you. You're like a mentor. They look up to you because you make them feel great about themselves. You bring out the best in them. You teach them how to be proud of themselves. It's all about self-discipline. They understand that everything's up to them. Everything's their choice. I used to tell my kids, if you're good, life is good. If you're bad, life ain't so good. I'll make sure that because I'm your mom and that's my job. So in other words, life's all up to you. So that's 3 to 12 years old when you're at the height of your leadership. Then we go into the teen phase, parenting teenagers. This is where a lot of parents really stumble because they don't alter their parenting to adjust the teen years. The teen are 13, obviously, plus. So with teenagers, you want to start handing that leadership torch over to them, certainly with the smaller stuff. Let them have a messy room. Just, there's some caveats with that. Like I never allowed my kids to have food or dirty clothes in their room because I didn't want rats infesting the place. So that was pretty much my only rule. But so long as it wasn't, food or anything like dirty in there, I didn't care. So you got to start letting stuff go with teenagers. Don't sweat the small stuff. Okay. So but parents just don't tend to do that. That's the hard thing, is they want to micromanage everything, but they don't understand. They're turning into adults soon. You got to let them make mistakes. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, just say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? And laugh it off. Or do you want to hear what I did this morning? And laugh it off. Okay. You got to adjust your parenting for all of those ages. Did I miss one? I feel like I missed one. No, I didn't. I got them all. By the way, I just made that up. I don't know what a toddler is, but to me, it's like up to 15 months. is a baby, and then 16 to 35 months is a toddler to me. And then 3 years old is a child, basically, because they can stop and think before they act at 3. That's why the behavior board starts at 3. They have the ability to stop and think before they act. Under that, not so much. Oops, what time is it? Oh, I got to go over to Instagram now. If you want to join me over there, it's BratBusters Parenting. If not, check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses. I have 2 of them now, the toddler one and the 3 to 12-year-old one. Or you can look into coaching. I have a wait list for coaching, but I do have a wait list for it, so I'm still doing it. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and I'm hopping over to Instagram now. Thank you very much. Bye now. I don't know why I said thank you very much. I don't usually talk like that. So I'm talking to YouTube here. Just a sec. I'm moving over to Instagram. Whoops. Both Instagram and TikTok have an extra button I have to push now with lives. My thumb gets sore. Okay. Okay, just wait for people to treat. It's about 10 seconds for about 150 people to turn up on Instagram. It's the fastest one. Okay, here we go. Hello, just waiting for everyone to turn up. So I just like to look at the numbers. Okay, 136. Okay, 150. Okay, so let's get going now. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you can see the free behavior board, my mini toddler courses. Hello. Or you can get my boot camp courses. I have 2 of them now, one for toddlers, one for 3 to 12-year-olds, or you can look into coaching. There's a wait list for coaching, but I'm still doing it. So I do love coaching. It's my favorite thing. Love your address and how relaxed it is. Address. What does that mean? My dress or the way I talk? I don't know what that means. Relax must be this. Anyway, I'm either at the gym, on my bike, or working from home, or I'm out in my social life. I have no dress up clothes at all. Nothing. Nothing. It's wonderful. Okay. Any help with my newly 3-year-old that says no to everything? That's a learned behavior. It means it must work. So I would just says no to everything. Just look at the behavior board. Just start small. Remember, we're not fixing kids here. We're fixing and teaching parents. So your leadership stops that. They don't say no to a leader. They just don't. So yeah, check out the boot camp course, or the behavior board's completely free. It starts at 3. So check that out. And you got to start working on your leadership. And they don't say no to leaders. They just don't. They look up to you. They want to please you when they're 3 to 12. They want to please you because you make them feel great about themselves. And that's what a leader does. A leader brings out the best in them. We don't want obedient little soldiers here. We want self-disciplining, proud, happy kids. Okay? Okay, this one's a good one. It doesn't come up a lot. I'm sure it happens a lot, but not a lot of people ask this. Hi, tips on connecting through play, because that's how you play. A child's love language is fun and play. With a 2-year-old that is kind of hyperactive, he doesn't interact for long without getting distracted and wanting to move on to the next thing. Well, don't have too many things. Like just maybe have, like I get it, he's only 2. So don't have okay. One of my tips with toddlers is to have a toy rotation system going so he doesn't have a lot out at any given time. But you know what I did? We had a toy library I'm kind of going off topic here, but I'll get back to it. We had a toy library when my kids grew up, and it was all free. And you just get these really great big things to play with. And a lot of them were physical, like little mini trampolines, the little mini slides, and stuff that you can play with, or the big doll houses, the big garages that you can have your cars going around in. It was just fantastic. So there was a lot of like big stuff that would hold their attention a little bit longer. So if he does have problems with focus and attention, the fewer things in front of him, the better, because oftentimes they do have problems focusing because there's too much stuff around. Chaos, clutter, right? I'm not saying it is, but that's one of the reasons. Also, if he's having a hard time staying on task on one plaything, usually you can go to the park and keep them on task. So what that tells me is they're pretty good when it's something physical. So I'm suggesting that what you're doing isn't really physical. It's more just sitting and playing with something. Maybe get up and dance with him more. Do something more physical. They're less inclined to walk away from something physical than to walk away with something that's just sort of tactile. And you know what I'm saying? So yeah, get more physical, like play balloon tennis, something physical. If he moves on, then just go and do something else. Think, okay, well, you're bored with that. It kind of hurts your feelings sometimes. You think, am I that boring? If I got BO, like what are they walking away for? But they're just toddlers. Oh, you're asking me about how to handle other adults, how to handle grandparents. Yeah, I would just say, oh, it hurts my feelings when you say that to the kids. If anyone else doesn't understand that it hurts your feelings and respect that, I can't help you, right? Like this comes up a lot where parents say, well, my parents or my in-laws, they're always giving me advice and it upsets me. And I say, just tell them, when you give me advice or undermine my parenting, it hurts my feelings. If that doesn't work, I can't help you. They're just difficult, insensitive people, period. I can't help you with that. Can't change them. Okay. Now you redacted that. Someone retracted that. Retracted, same thing. Someone asked for, it was a good question too, but I didn't catch the whole ending of it, so I don't want to ask it. It was on YouTube. It was about 24-hour media blackout, and you were at a friend's house. Why do people keep retracting their questions on YouTube? It happens a lot. Anyway, I was all ready to answer that one. I liked it, but I didn't get to the end. So, and I don't want to answer it if she's not even here. She's not interested. So, okay. Oops. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay. Sorry. I just skipped through. I scrolled and I got all dizzy. I've got vertigo because I'm old. So if I go too fast, I get dizzy. Sorry about that. My eyeballs start going like that. You'll know why. 2-year-old not interested in potty training. I train my kids at 2.5. You might want to check out my potty party book. Not book, it's a course. I used to have a book on it. Actually, I just found that the other day. That's why I said that. It was like 15 years old. Nothing's changed in it though. This stuff's timeless because it's relationship based, right? But anyway, so yeah, check out my potty training course. And just because they're not ready doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. But I train my kids at 2.5. My son was 1 day. My daughter was 2 days. No pull-ups, no night diapers, nothing. But I was already kind of a leader. But it's a good way to sort of exercise your leadership skills too. Okay. I love your lives. Thank you for doing these. You're very welcome. I love doing these. I really do. I enjoy it. But I wouldn't do it if it wasn't helping people because I know, I'm here I feel very much like this is a service that I'm providing because now this isn't just a business to me. It's my whole life. I started volunteering with kids my whole life. I never dreamt I'd ever turn any of this into a business. So it's a real passion of mine to teach kids how to be self-disciplining and proud and happy. It's just a passion of mine. So that's why I do all this. I don't get paid for these lives. Like this is just something I enjoy doing. Okay. You got a runner. You just put them on put a harness on them before you go out, and then say if you run, you're going to get clipped in. As soon as they start to run away from you, clip them into that leash, and they will learn. You have to keep them clipped in for the whole outing, though. So if don't do this first time, somewhere you really need to get to because they're probably going to drop and scream. So do it somewhere where just do practice runs, right? Somewhere where you don't have to go and you can just stand there filing your nails while they have a tantrum because they're on a leash. They will eventually learn. It's a safety issue. You buckle them into the car seat. You want to buckle them when you're out walking in the streets. You don't want them to get flattened by a bus, right? Someone asked hitting during tantrums. What do you do? I have a course on tantrums if you're interested. If they hit and it's not a tantrum, that's a different course. Those are my mini courses. They're all thrown in as a bundle with the toddler boot camp course, by the way. But yeah, just as a bonus. Anyway, if they hit during a tantrum, you just physically restrain them if they get violent. If they hurt themselves, hurt someone else, or damage property, you just physically restrain them. You don't talk to them or look at them, though. You just physically restrain them and look away. You continue to ignore the tantrum. Remember, any attention is tantrum food. If you're talking to them or looking at them, Pardon me, I don't know what happened to my voice. Sound like a 14-year-old boy. If you're talking to them or looking at them during a tantrum, it's feeding it. It's like fertilizer, right? It means it's working. That's what they're after. They want attention. You give it to them. That tantrum just worked. You just taught them, keep having tantrums, buddy, because it works. Oh, you got a climber. Yeah, do as much as you can, obviously, child-proofing. But if not, you can put a bell or an alarm on everything. So I had someone, I got a million different stories with that. But there are, well, this was quite funny, actually. This mom, she was a client years ago. She could not find her 18-month-old little girl. Couldn't find her at all. Was just about to call the police. She thought someone had broken into their house, stolen her toddler, and then locked up behind them. So anyway, because her whole house was locked up. Anyway, she went to the kitchen. This is back before cell phones. They weren't as popular. So she went to the kitchen to get the landline, and she heard giggling. Her toddler was on top of the fridge. She had used her little toes to get up the drawers, and they were child locked, but just enough for her to get her toes. You know how they can pull them out a little bit? So she got her toes up there, and then she got onto the counter, then she got on the bread maker, then she got on top of the fridge. So yeah, climbers are really scary. So put bells and alarms on everything that you can. And you just have to keep your eyes on them. You can even put a bell on the kid. And by the way, if you're going to put a bell on them, put it behind them where they can't get it. If they don't like it, that's okay. They'll get used to it. 3.5-year-old screams and hits me in his room when she doesn't get what she wants. How do I react to that? Remember, we're never fixing kids here. We're fixing and teaching parents. Work on your leadership skills. Check out the boot camp course for 3 to 12 years old. That's 5 weeks to get respect, setting yourself up as a leader. But if you just want your training wheels with all this stuff, that's the behavior board. And that's completely free. So check that out and just start out with, and if you're doing this all by yourself without the course or without coaching, do put something on the behavior board that's not a huge deal that you think you can win. It's about, each behavior board is like a battle. So you want to win that first battle, especially. It's sort of you're teething, right? This is you're sort of learning how to do this. So make it something that you know you can win. When I'm coaching people, often I make it really difficult so they will fail or close to it. The reason is I learn the most from that. So the second session gives me a lot more information. That's why, and I tell them that too. I say this, I don't always go in hard with coaching. It depends on the emotional fragility of the parents too. Sometimes they're really upset and I don't want to upset them anymore. But if they're ready for it, I want to go, I want to learn how to be a leader, then I'll go in hard. And I'll say, let's pick the most difficult thing that we can deal with these kids. And then they will fail usually or stumble. And then I learn a lot, like, where did you stumble? How did that go? And yeah. But if you're doing it on your own, don't do that. Go in easy, start small. Oh, this is so sweet. I learn new things every time I open your page. That's very sweet. Thank you. Sleeping for 5-year-old who was never sleep trained. Well, usually kids just don't need to be trained to sleep, but anyway, some of them do. So look up my bedtime battles course. It's one of my mini courses, and you can buy it separately, or they're all thrown into my toddler course, but you're past that anyway. But the bedtime course goes from 2 to 8 years old. So it's the only one that isn't just for toddlers. 2 to 8 years old. So check that out. It'll teach you how to, I don't call it sleep training. I just call it bedtime battles. And it's one night of hell. It can be really ugly, but it's usually just one really bad night. It can leak into 2 and 3. Depends on where your leadership skills are. If you've got none, it might leak into 2 and 3. But if you've already kind of learning how to do all this stuff, then it's usually one night. That is by far one of my most common and most successful methods of anything I teach is the bedtime battles, because it's hard to do, but it's fast. One of my least successful ones that drags out, it's just frustrating. I don't even like talking about it. It's mealtime battles. It's just one of the most difficult things to deal with. We do it, but I don't like talking about it because there's so many levels to it. Depends on the age and what we're going through, but yeah, and it takes a long time. It's not an overnight thing. What trait do children possess that you find grown-ups fail most to understand? Number one is accountability. Number one, absolutely. If there were 100 things, that would be 1 to 99. They don't make their children accountable and responsible. In other words, they don't give them any pride. So make them accountable. You make them accountable by giving consequences when they make a poor choice. Oh, but then they're going to get upset. I don't want to upset them. That's crap. it's like if we all live by consequences. That's why we don't speed as much as we'd like, because we might get a ticket. We don't speed because a cop might say, that's very naughty, as you go past, right? That doesn't do it. It's the consequences. Teach your children to be accountable for what they say, what they do, and how they act. Number one, that's absolutely number one that parents get wrong. They want to talk about the bad behavior. I don't do that. Why would you talk about it? It doesn't make any sense at all to me. They already know what they did was bad. And then parents want to go on and on and on and berating them, bullying them, discussing all this bad behavior. In other words, turning it into their identity. Nah, hey, that was stupid. That was bad. Here's your consequence. Okay, you want to go to the park? Like we all do bad things sometimes. Like it's okay to make mistakes. But parents just don't want to make their children accountable. I don't know why. I honestly don't know why. I have no idea where that mentality would even come from, that you don't want your children to be accountable for what they say and what they do. I don't understand that. I can't wrap my head around that at all. That's why it's so hard for me to. No, I was going to talk about this interview. I just did an interview for a radio station the other day, and it goes into that in great detail. So yeah, I won't bore you here. Anyway, does ignoring the tantrum apply to a 5-year-old? It applies to all ages. Yeah, all ages. Okay. This is Carolyn Dacey on YouTube. My 58-year-old self, well, you're a lot younger than me, now raising my almost 5-year-old grandson who's been through way too much. Anyway, how to start with his explosive temper and poor. Okay, so it's all about connecting and everything. Number one is connecting, having fun with him, and then you deal with bad behavior. You deal with bad behavior, but then you focus on the good kid. So, but with him, I'd focus more on connecting than anything else. If he's been through a lot, but I don't take much either. So you might want to say, let's say you're dealing with one bad behavior. Say, look, if he does something else that you don't like, say, we might deal with that next week. But for this week, we're just going to focus on this. Okay? Because you don't want to be focusing on bad behavior all the time. By the way, children need, crave, and want leadership. When you're a leader, they equate that with love and protection and safety. They feel safe with a leader. So discipline is actually kindness. It's love. And it makes children feel great. Whenever I've worked with troubled teenagers, they're my specialty. They've all said to me in one way or another, I wish my parents had been tougher on me growing up. They equate discipline with love. They just do. They don't want it now, by the way. But they know that the reason why they're so out of control now is they weren't disciplined growing up. They equate discipline with love. Yeah. I've worked with hundreds of kids, teenagers, toddlers, everything. I got respect with all of them. The reason is that they need, crave, and want a leader. But I know how to connect too. You got to play with them, connect with them, be funny with teenagers, whatever. So yeah, connecting. Check out my behavior board, Caroline, or you can look at the boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old. Everything I teach is more about connecting than anything else. And quit talking about the bad behavior. Parents do this all the time. They want to discuss it in great detail. And then they'll even say at the end of the day of a good day, they'll say, oh, today was a really good day. You were a good boy. Oh, don't talk like that. Don't talk like that. You know what you just said to that child? I'm so surprised that you were good today because you're normally rotten. Don't reward good behavior. Just expect that. Treat it like that's normal. Do not reward good behavior. It's ludicrous. Oh, you're actually good today. I can't believe it. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Let's go out for ice cream. Big mistake. Big wrong message. So wrong. So I'm scrolling ahead because there's so many questions here and I want to make sure you're still here when I answer them. Yeah. What corrective actions would you suggest for a toddler who thinks everything is a game? I'm going to say he's 2. I don't know. Jumping up on you, stealing your food, digging in pockets. We say no. Okay. So it's not just a matter of stopping the bad behavior. You want to teach them the good behavior, like what to do instead. So I would set up a pseudo game. There's too many things to deal with there. Like I'll just pick one. Let's say it goes in your pockets. I would say no and pull the pocket away and then just snub them and walk away. You see, like just snub them and walk, but no anger. Just say no. You're letting him know that's consistent corrective actions. But next time you're around him, if he doesn't go in your pocket, then you can play with him or talk to him, whatever. But as soon as he goes for that pocket, give him a little bit of a snub. Say no, and then just calmly walk away. That's consistent corrective action. Consistent corrective action is you take them away from the fun or the fun away from them. You're taking the pockets away from them. But he keeps going at it. Yeah, there's actually a lot in there. Like I could go on about that one. But it's consistency. It might take 100 times. They'll eventually clue in. But you don't just do that. You also play with them. I would get down on the ground and start playing with them. Susie goes for your pocket, stand up. Oh, no pocket. Stand up and walk away. So that would be the end of all the fun every single time. He'll eventually learn. But you don't just discipline. You play with him and then you stop the play. If you're just disciplining, he's going to keep coming at you because you never play with him anyway. What they learn, my kids learned this. They learned mom was a lot of fun, but I wasn't fun if they weren't good. They learned that very quickly. Fun ended like that. I used to be the panty monster. I'd put all the underpants on my head during laundry day, which was every single day, and I'd chase them around the house as the panty monster. So, but if they had ever acted out, I would have gone, oh, didn't like that. Off those panties would come, and I'd say, we'll try again tomorrow. See, they learned. So you take away the fun, but there's got to be fun to take away. You don't just take yourself away every time they go in your pocket. You got to have some fun to take away too, right? If going in your pockets is the only fun you're having with them, then you got to up that. Their love language is fun. So what behavior do you reward? What do you mean? What on earth do you mean by that? Why do you need to reward behavior? My baseline is just good behavior. I just had a blast with my kids. We played a lot. We were best friends. We had a blast. If you reward good behavior, that says that they're bad. It's like the reward chart. It's such a disaster. You put a reward chart in a wall for good behavior. What you're telling your children is you're normally rotten. If you should happen to be good, you'll get a reward. My baseline is I just expect nice kids. That's my baseline. My son was in grade 2 and his teacher called me on her lunch hour. She thought this was so cute. She goes, I asked your son, why are you so nice? And he looked up at her all serious. Mommy makes us be nice. You're darn right. They were nice kids, so their life was great. They were never disciplined because their life was great. That is the reward. You get back what you put out. You put out nice, you get it back, right? I don't reward for that. Could you imagine if you said to someone as an adult, oh, can you please pass me that? And they said to you, what a good girl for saying please. Wouldn't you go, what the hell's wrong with you? See what I mean? You don't reward what I would consider normal. Weren't you nice for saying please? Like, ugh, geez, see you later. Like, you see what I mean? It's a sour taste in your mouth. Kids pick up on that, but they don't know how to articulate that. I'm speaking for them. You don't reward good behavior. It's a disaster. You're saying they're rotten if you start rewarding good behavior. Their life is great when they're good. That's it. My kids knew their life was great. We had fun. We had a blast. But if they were naughty, you discipline bad behavior, you correct bad behavior, but you don't reward good behavior. Doesn't make any sense to me at all. By the way, don't equate any of this to schools. A huge portion of my clients are teachers, principals, child psychologists. They're institutions, they're businesses. I couldn't do what they do. God, congratulations. They're phenomenal. But it's different from parenting. I teach parenting. It's home-based. It's personal. It's completely different. So reward charts for good behavior work in classrooms. They're not personal. It's 30 kids are on there. It's different. It's just different. So don't equate the two. That's why a lot of teachers struggle with parenting too, because they try and and some stuff does cross over, but a lot doesn't. One's personal. Oh, you're asking about teaching? I don't teach teaching. I know nothing about it. I never give teaching advice. All these clients who are teachers, principals, and child psychologists, they're hiring me for their own kids. I know nothing about teaching. I have spent thousands of hours in classrooms working with difficult kids, but all I ever do is sit and watch the teacher and think, God, I think I'd jump out the window. How they do it. I just admire teachers. Okay. What's a 13-year-old's love language? Fun and listening. You be fun, be lighthearted. They like lighthearted stuff. They don't want you always to be serious, and be a really good listener. Okay. By the way, I'm going to teach you how to listen. This is my top 4 tips for parenting teenagers. And listening it's for younger kids too, but it's especially important with teenagers. These are my top 4 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1, listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. By the way, they already know it. Okay. They just want you to listen. Number 2 is that you negotiate pretty much everything. Go something like this. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper. What do you want from me? Try and negotiate as much as possible. Number 3 is don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, just say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? And laugh it off. Or do you want to hear what I did this morning? We all do dumb stuff. It's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to be human, right? Life's messy. We're all messy, right? Number 4 is don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times. A lot of parents, I'll teach them how to connect with their teenagers. And I always say, do not leverage that good time to discuss the bad time. Sometimes they do it anyway. They do it, oh, thank God we're having a great time because the last 2 years with you has been hell. And then they can't figure out why they just told them to F off, and then they don't talk to them after that. Don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times. It's never going to work. Okay. Oops, I'm going to move over to, am I on Instagram? Yeah, I'm on Instagram. Anyway, check out the link above. You can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses. I have one for toddlers now. It's new. It's only been up for about 3 weeks. And then I also have my regular boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old. Or you can look into coaching. I have a wait list. Yes, I'm still coaching. I don't know for how much longer. I keep saying that. Anyway, I do love coaching, but I have a wait list for that. Anyway, if you're interested in that. What was I going to say? I'm going over to TikTok now. So thanks so much for joining me, and we'll talk again hopefully tomorrow. Bye now. I've got 699,800 followers on TikTok. So I'm almost at 7. Almost at 700. Okay. I'm on YouTube the whole time, by the way. I got 17 people on YouTube. YouTube, I don't usually get a lot of people on this, but I do recommend if you're going to watch me on a live, it's probably the best place to do it because it's my smallest platform. So I'm most likely to see your questions on there. Okay. This is Audrey. You have a complex background. Well, I do specialize in crisis work, but that would all be coaching. A one-on-one session. Yeah, you'd look into coaching, and there is a wait list. But if you're really going through a lot, you can put crisis somewhere in there, and that will red flag it. Anyway, but I only work on 5 sessions, so it's a package. But if you're struggling financially, if that's not doable, some people say they can't afford that, and I totally respect that. These are all free. This is the only place I answer questions for free, and otherwise it's coaching, and then the behavior board is completely free. So anyway, is that something you offer? Yeah, I do offer coaching. Yeah, but like I said, there's a wait list for that. I'm hoping to get to that this week. It's just been busy. Okay. Sorry, welcome to TikTok. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses. I have 2 of them now, one for toddlers, one for 3 to 12-year-olds, or you can look into coaching. I do have a wait list for that, but you can still check it out and get on there if you're interested. Anyway, what was I going to say? I'm almost at 700,000 followers here now on TikTok. So thanks so much for your support. I never take it for granted. I'm 63, and I blew up online 2 years ago. And at this age, who would have thought? I've been doing this business for 17 years, and I was doing fine, mostly referrals through doctors, schools, etc., and other parents. And then 2 years ago, I blew up online. Who knew that at my age that would ever happen? Now my daughter's working with me full time. She's behind all the marketing and all that. But I started on TikTok. That's where this all started. So I'm very, very partial to TikTok because of that. So anyway, thanks so much for your support. It's certainly appreciated. I mean that. Anyway, okay. So let's get going. Did I already introduce myself? I think I did. Anyway, okay. You have to put down the age. I can't answer without an age. Sometimes I can if it's something more general, but a lot of stuff I have different answers for different ages. So it's always best to put down the age. I'm more likely to answer the question if you put an age. And you have to put the age with the questions, or else I won't be able to figure it out. Okay, so let me see here. As a child care, this is Carolyn. Oh boy, you're going all the way back. Oh, I see. Oh, the 5-year-old grandson. Oh, there's a lot going on. Yeah, if you really need my in-depth help, that would be coaching. You'd have to look into that. But yeah, she's also a daycare worker. Daycare workers are daycare workers, teachers, principals, child psychologists. Are a lot of my clients are those things. But yeah, I could never do those jobs. I would have no advice whatsoever for anyone in those jobs because I've never done them. I don't know anything about them. I just teach parenting. It's personal. Do you know who's never hired me that I know of? I think I would pick up on it from their vernacular, is a youth worker. Youth workers specialize in troubled teenagers. And that's my specialty too. If you can work with troubled teenagers, you don't need my help. That's like the PhD. If you think you can outsmart a troubled teenager, yeah, you can't. You got to know how to get respect. And it can be tricky when you're learning. It can be really tricky. 2-year-old will not listen to a single thing I say. Yeah, that's normal because they're not listening to you. They're watching you. Use consistent corrective actions with 2-year-olds. Check out my boot camp course. That might be a good place for you to check out. That's for toddlers. I have 2 of them. One's for toddlers, one's for 3 and above. But yeah, check that out. They don't tend to listen to you, but if you're good at actions, a good example of this is I was surprised at how young they can learn this. I was the leader. My ex-husband was the pleaser, and my mom was the leader, and my dad was the pleaser. From a very young age, my kids were more inclined to listen to me. I mean, young, like really little. So they start to pick up on leadership pretty young. The main thing is that when I said something, I meant it. So when I said, "Oh, we're going to brush your teeth," if they'd run and said no, I would have grabbed them, picked them up, and brushed their teeth. Opened up their mouth and brushed their teeth. Like, it wouldn't have been done very well. But in other words, when I said something, I meant it. I followed through. When their dad said something, he'd negotiate. That's a pleaser. Pleasers negotiate. They try to avoid scenes. Leaders don't. Leaders like, bring it on. Yeah. When I said something, it happened. So. And the thing is, I never said something unless I was willing to back it up with actions. Like, I would never do false, I would never empty threats or anything like that. If I said something, I was willing to back it up. And kids learn this from a very young age. Plus, I played hard with kids. Their love language is play. So I was really connected. I know how to connect with kids. That's the number one skill with leaders is connecting. How do you handle kids with autism and ADHD? Well, everything I've learned and everything I talk about, most of those kids I worked with had ADHD or similar diagnoses, right? Autism's a little bit different. I've worked with a lot of kids with autism, but I don't discuss that here. That's only in coaching. That's more of a special needs thing. So that's coaching. And I don't generalize with any of that because they're all so unique, right? And even children with autism, like they're all so different. What works with one may not work with the others, that's all. So, and plus I need a little bit of background, like what other kind of programs do you have them in? Are they mainstreamed in schools or not? And, there's a whole bunch of stuff I need to know because I don't like to just waste your time and give you empty advice here, and I can't do that. I need to assess the situation before I can give any advice on children on the spectrum, ASD. By the way, I just want to make it very clear. Someone asked me the other day what my degree is. I have no degrees. I've just worked with kids for 52 years. I was all volunteer work. I was volunteering with kids in daycare centers when I was 11 years old. This is obviously just a mission in life. I always wanted to understand kids, and I found it easy. I found it easy to get respect with little kids. I remember when I was 11, and I remember the daycare, when I was volunteering in the daycare centers, the daycare ladies would say to me, How do you do that? They want to be with you, but they listen to you. And I didn't know how to articulate that. I was a leader back then. So I think it was always my mission in life to do this. And then I turned it into a business like 40 years later. So, but anyway, so yeah, I don't have any degrees. There is no degrees in parenting, by the way. There's nothing. And a lot of teachers, principals, and child psychologists hire me. They have degrees in their fields, but parenting, there is no degree in parenting. I think it's just heavily, just intuitive and experience-based. Plus, I didn't learn much with my own kids. They were easy. I got respect when they were little. I sailed right through the teen years. It's all those hundreds of toddlers, children, and teenagers that I worked with who were particularly challenging for the most part. And a lot of them were disabled also. I've worked in volunteered in hospitals too. So it's just experience-based, okay? So I want to make that very clear. Because someone asked me the other day, what's your degree? Well, I don't have one. I was going to be a child psychologist. Thank God. I would have been horrible under that umbrella because I didn't agree with anything they were teaching. So they kicked me out because I was arguing with them. I asked too many questions is what they said. We're just supposed to sit there and sop up their wisdom. That was 40 years ago. I'm sure they're better now. But I thought this is a bunch of patronizing garbage. That was what I was thinking. Yeah, we didn't get along. Okay. Someone asked me this in Facebook just earlier. I noticed the calmer I am, the calmer the child is. Any advice when you're about to lose your cool? I can't give you advice on how to control your own emotions. That's your responsibility. There is no easy way to do that. But you got to fake it till you make it. So pretend you're calm. It's like dieting and exercising. It's just hard initially until it becomes habit. But yeah, it's just hard. So that's your responsibility. I have no tips for that. No. One of my clients said, do you ever recommend alcohol? No, I don't recommend that. A lot of my clients do resort to that for bedtime battles. And by the way, I always say you be calm during the storms, but crazy during the rainbows. I was a crazy mother because I never had to discipline my kids. I got respect when they were tiny and sailed right through. So I could just be crazy and insane and goofy, and we were just joking around all the time, right? Because they were self-disciplining. So you'd be crazy during the rainbows, which is the happy times. When you're disciplining, you're calm. You just say, oh, okay, that was bad. Here's the consequence. Okay, you want to go to the park? It's like that. It's a business transaction. All discipline should be emotionless and like a business transaction on your part. They may go a bit loopy, but that's okay. That's not your problem. That's their problem. They're processing hearing the word no. They're processing you being in charge and not them. Okay. I never had to exercise my leadership really with the kids because they already knew it was there. I got it when they were little. Maintaining it is easy, but getting it is hard work. You got to earn that. I worked my butt off to get that with all the kids I worked with and raising my own kids. I got it with my own kids in the first 3 to 3.5 years. And then I just kind of sailed. But yeah, I had to work for that though. You have to earn this. And remember, it's never the kids, it's you. You lead, they will follow. It's called leadership, not followership. You know, like you lead, they will follow. Most parents are reacting to their children rather than acting as leaders. You stop reacting to them and start acting as a leader, and you'll see a huge shift. Not just in them, but in yourself. So many parents, not in the first session with coaching is often really difficult for parents, especially with teenagers, really difficult. By the third session, I often see this as soon as they turn up, they're like this. They're like, I'm starting to get it. I'm starting to feel it. Okay, it's an energy. So yeah, and the kids pick up on that too. How to start when they're already 14. I specialize in teenagers. So that would be coaching. But you can use the behavior board, but call it family law or something like that and make it super easy. Like, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper and nowhere else. That means they can't lay on the floor all day and then go in the hamper just before midnight. You know what I mean? Like, just start real small. And then you say to them, hey, I want to put your dirty clothes I want you to put your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on and nowhere else. And then say, what do you want my role to be? Ask the teenager, what do you want from me? Open up to negotiations. How do I sign up for coaching? Go in the link above and you can sign up. Now, if you're dealing with right now, I'd like more teenagers. I've got a lot of younger children right now. So if you have a teenager, chances are you'd be put to the top of the list because I have to pick, and crisis always comes first. Crisis, past clients, re-signing up, and what was it? And teenagers right now are my top 3 go-tos because I like to mix up the ages. Although I don't tend to think ahead when I'm doing scheduling sessions. And I remember one day, oh, this was a while ago, I had a few crisis clients, like life and death team stuff. And I had a few crisis clients And it was all day, it was nothing but teenagers. And I had like 6 or 7 sessions that day. And it was all troubled, crisis, teenage work. By the end of it, I was a mess, like, because I have to think, right? It's not emotionally draining for me, but I have to think, like I have to be on with teenage stuff. Younger stuff, I can do it in my sleep. But teenage crisis work, I am zoned in. And it was one of the hardest days I've ever had in my business. Just because I didn't think it through. I had the whole day was all this crisis work all day. Anyway, yeah, stupid me. Oh, well. But right now I don't have, crisis is life and death stuff, cutting, stuff like that. Yeah. Or running away. You know, life and death, they're being harmed, they're in danger. That's crisis work. Or abuse. Have they been abused in any way? That's crisis work. So it's not just teenagers, it can be younger children who've been through trauma. And that is, I used to specialize in crisis work, and yeah, I don't specialize in it. Like it, you know, I don't like to focus on it. I'd rather prevent that. That's where I put my focus now. But yeah, I remember years ago I used to do a lot of TV and radio, and the old-fashioned media. And one night I was on the top of the news story because some kid had done something awful, right? And then they asked me how to prevent that. And, you know, so anyway, I was on the top of the news, and they introduced me as the crisis queen. And I can remember thinking, it's not their fault. I mean, you know, and I remember thinking, I don't want to be a queen, and I don't want to just be known for crisis. I want to be known for, hey, we got a happy family. Lisa helped us have a happy family. That's what I'd rather be known for. Or I don't even care if I'm known. I just want you to have a happy family. But whether or not, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care if it's me or not, whatever. Okay, actually, what time is it here? I'm gonna have to get going soon. I've got a few things I got to do here. Anyway, I think I'm gonna head off because I do have a lot to do right now. And thanks so much for joining me. I'm almost at 700,000 on TikTok. I'm like 200 away. So that should be by maybe tonight. Anyway, I'm really excited about that. Like, that's a big number, 700,000. I've got over my platforms, I've got 1.4 million. But TikTok's really in my heart because this is where I started really, you know, going on social media in a real way. And that was a couple of years ago. And so, yeah, and I just blew up on TikTok overnight. I just couldn't believe it. An old woman sitting around talking about parenting. I didn't think anyone would look at any of my videos. So no one's more surprised than I am. Anyway, thanks so much for your support. It's always appreciated. And I mean that. I really do. Because you're spending your time with me, and I just appreciate that. Anyway, look at the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses, toddler and child, or you can look into coaching. I have a wait list for that, but I do have a wait list for that. So check into that. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. Anyway, yes, I do have one-on-one training. That's coaching. So thanks so much, and we'll talk again soon. Bye now.